Welcome to In the Sandbox with BBB National Programs, Children's Advertising Review Unit, where we explore children's advertising and privacy issues. Our goal is to make sure children are safe in an online environment and that you, our listeners, are aware of the ever-changing landscape of legislation and technology. I'm your host, Rakia Bonner, Director of K.R.U. Let's dig in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of In the Sandbox with K.R.U., the podcast from BBB National Programs, Children's Advertising Review Unit. Today's topic is kid influencers. As part of K.R.U.'s ongoing 50th year anniversary celebration, we're exploring what it means to be a child, the evolution of a child, and certainly kid influencers are part of today's childhood. Child influencers are children, often with a large number of followers on social media, who have built an online presence by creating content to generate views and drive engagement, where they often share their hobbies, likes, and personal activities, and sometimes market products through paid partnership agreement. In late May, K.R.U. issued a decision in connection with Vlad and Nikki, a popular YouTube kids channel directed to preschool-age children. With millions of subscribers and billions of views across 21 channels in 18 languages. K.R.U. was concerned about their influencer videos, which contained undisclosed or inadequately disclosed advertising endorsements and material connections. Our recommendation was to include language in both text and audio that is easy for children to understand to clearly and conspicuously disclose the material connections to the video sponsor. K.R.U. recommends that advertisers not solely rely on platform disclosure tools, as they're not always sufficient to comply with K.R.U.'s advertising guidelines. Vlad and Nikki's representative agreed with K.R.U.'s decision and will work diligently to comply with the recommendations. To read the full decision, please subscribe to BBB National Programs online archives at bbbprograms.org/online archive. And to see K.R.U.'s advertising guidelines regarding clear and conspicuous disclosures, please go to bbbprograms.org/K.R.U, C-A-R-U. With that, I'd like to introduce today's guests. Today, I want to welcome Angela Tiffin, Senior Clearance and Privacy Counsel for Pocket.Watch, and Julia Moonves, VP of Sales and Business Development. Welcome, Angela and Julia. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Well, let's start off with what is Pocket.Watch? Julie, will you tell us what Pocket.Watch is, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pocket.Watch is basically a modern day kids media company. It was established in response to the massive decline in sort of broadcast and cable television viewing of kids content amongst Gen Alpha and the huge rise in viewership on kids and family content on YouTube, where all of these kids were flocking to watch the videos of kids and families making content. The name Pocket.Watch comes from the idea that kids have these, in theory, these massive television screens in their living rooms where they could watch content, but they're all choosing to watch videos on devices that could fit in their pocket, a 6-inch device that could fit in their pocket. So Pocket.Watch is where our name comes from. I would say the biggest difference between a company like Pocket.Watch and a Disney or a Nickelodeon, besides us being much leaner in terms of our size, that the IP that we work with is from creators who have built massive audience on YouTube and other social platforms. So rather than going to find the next book that you're going to turn into a movie or something like that, we partner with creators like Ryan's World and Toys and Colors that have these massive audiences that are already engaged and working with them to build out franchise models around their content.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Angela, I know what you do, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the special relationship that you have with K.R.U, because prior to joining Pocket.Watch, you served as senior counsel at K.R.U for 15 years. How did that experience prepare you for your role at Pocket.Watch? And would you describe your role, please?
Sure. So at Pocket.Watch, I am a senior clearance counsel, and I pretty much do a lot of what I did at K.R.U. So, K.R.U helps companies achieve their objectives while still being compliant with the laws. And I do that, but I only do it for one company now. Looking at advertising and privacy compliance simultaneously when you're creating an advertising campaign is very important, because in the digital world, privacy, it goes hand in hand with advertising. Um, building I learned at K.R.U how to build privacy and fair marketing practice in right into your products and your policies from the get-go, and as well as K.R.U's guidelines. We use them not only in our advertising campaigns, which we review, but also in the content, because they're a great jumping off point to make sure that content is appropriate and follows safety guidelines and things like that.
Perfect. Thank you, Angela. And as you can imagine, we certainly appreciate that.
The only difference is that I now think, what would K.R.U say? And I never used to think that before.
I love it. Well, please keep up the excellent work. Um, in in discussing the evolution of a child and what a child is, I learned that a common career goal for today's youth is to become a content creator, and that starts young. How do you go about finding creators? What factors do you take into consideration?
I can jump in on that one because I love this stat. And every time people hear it, they're shocked. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe kids today just want to be YouTubers and want to be creators. But the point I always like to make on that stat is that I think we put a more adult lens on something like that, where it's like these kids just want to be influencers and get paid money to hawk products or whatever. But these kids want to be YouTubers because it's literally their favorite thing. YouTube's their favorite platform, and they're watching families that look like them and play the way they do make videos. And so this kid's like, their dream job is like, I can stay home and make videos with my parents and do science projects and go on trips. That sounds awesome. I want to do that as a job. Like, that sounds amazing. So I think that's where that stat sort of comes from, and why kids love the idea of making videos, sharing videos, being able to participate in culture in that way. And so the way we find creators is we have a dedicated team that's sort of living and breathing the platforms all day, watching content, seeing what's trending. And they have different apps and websites and trackers that they use to see what channels are growing and what channels are sort of shrinking, who's got the most engagement. Things like Tubular Labs and Tube Filter posts lists of top global and top US channels frequently. So that team's constantly monitoring those things and reaching out to these families. And the biggest things we look for are, A, do they have an established audience? Do they do well on the platform? Do they have a big fan base? Have they been doing it for a while? Is their content good? And then the other piece that is very important to us is, do we have aligned values? Do these creators want to do the best thing by their kids and by their audience, by those kids that are watching their content? So are these happy, healthy families, and have they established a format and an audience that works on the platform? I think those are the two biggest things for us. Anything else we can help them with, but if they're not making high quality content that is engaging, and if they're not good people, that's where problems come in for us. So we do extensive background checks on all members of the family and everyone involved with the channel. And then we also have lots of meetings and phone calls with these families before partnering. I call these the vibe check meetings, because it's basically getting a sense for, are these good people? Like, is everything set up properly? Does it seem like everyone's happy and doing what they're supposed to be doing? And we've had some very large channels that have gotten rejected after the vibe check, passed the background check, but the vibe was off, and the feeling was not that they were doing the right thing here, or didn't want the right things for their audiences. So it's a big part of our process.
Interesting. And in that vibe check, is that when I know you referred to the kids just being eager to create. Is that kind of where you get a sense of the motivation behind it also?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, are these kids excited to be making videos? Do they want to be doing this? That sort of thing. Because there are parents out there that see how much audience is in this type of content, and they, want to make their kids famous on YouTube and things like that. And those aren't the types of families we're looking to partner with, kids that are being sort of coerced into creating these videos.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Thank you, Julie. I was going to ask, do parents ever contact you directly to consider their children?
Yeah, we get lots of emails, or like sometimes it seems like very sweet parents that are emailing and saying, hey, my daughter has a YouTube channel. She's a big fan of, Kids Diana Show, who's one of our partners. She would love to be, like, can you help us out? And then we also, one time I was on a panel, and there was people were asking questions, and one guy stood up and he said, "I'm trying to make my daughter famous on YouTube. What do I do?" And I was like, "Stop. Ask her if she wants to be doing it." So we do have people reach out to us a lot. It's not typically how we find new partners, but it is something that happens frequently.
Okay. And I know that you said some big names and some big followings you've had to reject. Do you ever have to disassociate yourself with bad actors, or have you ever had to disassociate yourself with any of your creators with questionable practices? I know you kind of briefly talked about that in the gut check, but is that something that you all have ever had to do?
No, I want to say we've been lucky in that we've never had any problems, but I credit people like our legal team and Angela and everyone that's working on making sure everything's above board with the channels that we do partner with, where we've never had a creator go rogue or find out that they've got some skeletons in the closet or anything like that. So we've been very lucky in terms of who we partner with and them just always wanting to do the right thing and all of that sort of stuff. We've never had to do anything like that.
I love that. And I'm finding a piece of wood and knocking on it for you.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
absolutely though would break with a creator if we needed to, even if they were successful. We also, because we've been around for several years, we've really been lucky enough to watch some of our young creators grow up and become involved in more involved in the creative process than say when they were younger. So we've had some of our creators get involved in the script writing and song and music writing process, and so that's been really great for us to watch them grow like that. And then creators like Evan from EvanTube, who has basically grown out of YouTube. If you watch one of his latest videos, he's off to college and looking forward to pursuing a career in the entertainment field. And says that he's finished all the levels on YouTube, and he's not totally done forever, but he's closing the chapter and moving on to the rest of his life. So that's really fun.
Let's talk about influencer laws. And I love that Evan has come full circle, beginning as a child, sharing his life, and now in college and has aspirations in the entertainment field. Um, as we think about young influencers, especially, I'd love to talk about how we protect them. Let's talk about influencer laws, how legislation helps protect creators. Can you talk to us about the Coogan law and related laws?
So the Coogan law is a California law that was inspired by a child actor named Jackie Coogan, who I believe he was in the Addams Family. And so when he had worked very hard as a child and was in several productions of things, and when he became of age, he discovered that his parents had spent all his money. And so they created this legislation to protect kids, and it requires that a percentage of a minor actor's earning goes into a protected trust account, among other things. And so, actually, only 10 states in the country actually have Coogan law type laws that require a percentage of an actor's money to go earnings to go into a trust account. So even on the entertainment end, there's still more work to be done. Now on the creator end, I know you know about Illinois law that just came out that requires that parents also put away money for income that their kids earned as creators. And so with the Coogan law, it's very easy because when we have productions like Ryan's Mystery Playdate on Nickelodeon, the laws and the rules are very clear and they're easy to follow. But of course, they don't apply for content that's made by family members at home. So, for example, one of the things in the Coogan law is that you have to hire a set teacher to supervise the child while they're on set. And of course, you're not going to have a set teacher in your home supervising because your kids are there 24 hours. So Pocket Watch supports, all these new creator protection laws. that are specifically designed for social media creators who are minors. Clear cut rules make it easier for everyone, and we believe the majority of parents want to do what's best for their children.
I agree. I agree. People in general want to do what's best for children, even when we look across just bipartisan lines. That is one area where it seems like everyone's on the same page that they should be protected. Speaking of protections for children, last September, the FTC published a staff perspective protecting kids from stealth advertising in digital media. One of the recommendations was to provide disclaimers both verbally and in writing. Pocket Watch does something unique when it comes to providing disclaimers. Would you please tell us about it?
Sure. So when we're working with brands, Pocket Watch's policy is to have parents and other adults provide the disclosures and any calls to action. So whether it's the disclosure such as this is an ad or call to action like you can, these products are available at Walmart or Target. And we do this for two reasons. One is to create a separation between the child creator and the sell messages, because we recognize that, the child audience has a strong connection with these child creators. And so the sell message coming directly from them would be much more influential. And then one of the other reasons we have that policy is we feel like it also reduces additional work for the children. So we're always looking to create, animated characters and, other techniques so that, kids don't have to do a lot of the commercial aspects of the work.
That makes a lot of sense. K.R.U just published a compliance warning regarding the application of its guidelines and the use of generative AI. The rules of the road still apply, spoiler alert. Do you think that realistic AI generated children will impact the role of kid influencers?
I think right now everyone is freaking out about AI and how it's going to replace all human work. But I think everyone needs to calm down. I don't think AI creators will impact the role of human content creators because I think they're always going to lack authenticity. I think people are going to just, they're going to lack something, the essence, the spirit that's in there that audiences, I don't think, will respond to. And I think it also brings up a host of ethical and legal issues that, as I said before, hopefully our lawmakers will proactively address before it's too commonplace. But, I think that there's ways to leverage AI. So right now, to the extent that it impacts our creators without putting additional impact on the kids. So for example, we have partnered with a company called Cameo, and Cameo has fans request personalized video messages from the like celebrities. Yeah, you're not going to have a child like they're not going to contact Ryan, and Ryan's going to get on his phone in the middle of school and say, oh, I'm going to leave this message. So we worked with Cameo to create an AI voice for some of our creators' animated alter egos. So, like, there's no way that, we don't want kids to think they're talking to Ryan at all, but they certainly can talk to his cartoon character that's playing Red Titan. So, and in that way, it's another stream of business for the creator families, but there's no work actually being put on the child.
Well, I mean, it's the space is so new. Well, technically, it's not new. It's been around for decades, artificial intelligence. But the generative AI got so much shine with Chat GPT. But I know that Angela, I agree, it is on the top of everyone's mind right now. A lot of fear, but it's a fascinating space, and we'll have to see what happens. Um, Thank you, ladies, for joining us, and I'd love to know if you have any final thoughts.
No, I would just like to thank you for inviting us to the Sandbox and for the important work that K.R.U does for consumers and the industry.
Well, thank you, Angela. And Julia, do you have any final thoughts?
No, none for me. This was super fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Well, if you're an influencer or if you manage influencers, please make sure you're following K.R.U's guidelines, and we'd love for you to join us as a supporter and have a seat at the table. Please go to www.bbbprograms.org to learn more. Thank you, everyone, and thank you again, Angela and Julia. Thank you so much for joining us today. Visit bbbprograms.org/K.R.U to learn more about the Children's Advertising Review Unit and to access K.R.U's advertising and privacy guidelines. You can also sign up for a pre-screening or learn more about our COPPA Safe Harbor program at bbbprograms.org/K.R.U. To stay up to date with K.R.U's happenings, subscribe to the Children's Corner newsletter at bbbprograms.org/subscribe.